Welcome to True Roots, Stories that Shape the Narrative. I am so pleased to have as our guest today actor and producer Rachelle Carson Begley. Rachelle is known for numerous film and TV roles, including Barking Mad, The Bling Ring, and most recently, I believe, Let's Call the Whole Thing Off, but
Yep,
Rachelle can correct me if I'm wrong.
that's
And
it.
of course, I cannot forget the popular TV series Living with Ed with her husband, actor Ed Begley Jr. Rachelle, along with Ed, is also an internationally recognized environmentalist. Welcome, Rachelle.
Thank you. Hello. Hello, Mike.
It is so good to have you on. So, we'll cover a bunch of stuff. We'll see how far we get in the short time we
Okay.
have, but we'll keep this sort of free form. But I thought I would start out maybe just asking you, are there any things you're working on now or any things you're anticipating working on that you can talk about
Yeah,
that
I'm
the audience might
actually
be interested in?
this weekend I'm doing a short film. Some young women writers and directors, and I'm playing something very far from me, a producer. So, it's a short. I think that's what's happening these days in Los Angeles. We've had a bit of a lull in shooting. This will be my fourth short film this year that I've done for people. Auditioned the regular channels but yeah, so that's what I'm doing. But I am very much involved in Let's Call the Whole Thing Off because that's the new movie that's coming out. It will be in December, the 12th through the 18th at the Limley in North Hollywood here in Los Angeles. There will be a screening in New York, and then it goes hopefully finds distribution because it's adorable. And it was made, here's another thing, it was made for very little money, and there's really no excuse. Well, there is excuse because still little money is probably a lot of money to a lot of people, but comparatively to the big people, doing major motion pictures, if you have a good story, most important, you have to have a good story, and most important, you have to have good actors. You can fudge on backgrounds, you can fudge on a lot of things, but if you don't have those things, it's a waste of time as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. Well, I look forward to watching it one day.
Yes.
That'll be good. So let's rewind and go way back in time, or not way back in time. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Back in time. And can you tell us a little bit about when you first knew you wanted to be an actor? And
Well,
I know personally, by the way, that goes way back
that
to
goes way,
very,
way.
very young, when you were very young.
Yeah, I think that they tell me, because I don't remember the exact moment, but I sort of have a vague memory. I was 4.
Okay.
And I was like, I think I was dancing to the Beatles and I want to hold your hand and I'm going to be an actor. That's sort of how it played out. And then, as I got into school, into grammar school and everything, I mean, any kind of opportunity I could get to act in school, I would. And I remember the moment I got off the school bus. I mean, I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and this boy said, "You know what? You make the weirdest faces. You should be an actress." And I thought, oh, that's what I'm gonna do.
Do you remember the kid? And
Yeah,
have
I
you
remember him.
reached out and thanked him or her?
I think his name is Walter. Yeah,
Okay.
I remember it like it was sort of like that was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You should look him up and
I know.
reach
I
out
don't
to
know the
him.
last name though. I think I've lost. I could probably because I have the school pictures, so I could go over that.
Just say, remember when you told me that?
Sure
Let
you
me
won't.
tell you what happened between.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's great.
If it were only about making weird faces, that would be so great.
Yeah. So as you progressed, was there a time, uh, when was the time when you realized that you were really, seriously, truly, that you had made it, that you were really an actor? You
Oh, I
know?
don't even know if I realize that now. There's always sort of like, really, is this what I'm doing? I mean, compared to whom, if I'm comparing myself to, Nicole Kidman or something, I'm not, it depends. See, that's a funny thing with actors because we equate success with working, like getting a
Sure.
job. And you don't a lot of us don't work all the time. And the majority of people in SAG, which I think is 2% of SAG works consistently.
Mhm.
So, which is frightening, but there's so many people doing it. And now they're pulling from all over the world because of of self tapes. So it's hard, but probably when I was consistently employed for like 6 months, that's when I went. And I was in my 30s then. So, and I had already done Falcon Crest, and I had done a lot of TV and several movies, and lots of theater. And I don't think I really felt like, oh, this is a profession that I have succeeded at, until I had, that paycheck that was 6 months duration.
Well, that's also true of writers. I would venture to say that probably around 2%, I don't have the numbers, but about
Yeah.
2% of writers are really seriously gainfully employed
Yeah.
writers.
Yeah.
You,
Any given time.
um, I didn't anticipate talking about this, but if I recall, you were a lawyer on Falcon Crest.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
I was. Yes.
you
And I
were.
was just a judge on Matlock. I tend to play the law I don't know why, but I don't
Now,
know.
you've also, in addition to doing some acting, but you've also done some producing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And do you like producing as opposed to acting? And I think
No,
you mentioned
you
you're
know,
playing a producer now. You're playing a producer in this.
yeah, yes, I'm playing a very
Yeah,
chic producer. I prefer acting. Producing is a means to an end. I mean, it can be creative, but at the end of the day, it's sort of like an organizer. I mean, you have to have creativity, and there's all kinds of different kinds of producers. So there's the creative producer who maybe, will get someone to write something. So they'll, option a book, or they'll do that, and then they go carry it through the whole process. And that, so I'm not that kind of producer. Mostly I've produced in reality. I've created shows. So I've created a couple of web shows, and I'm out there pitching a new show right now, but it's in the docu-series world. It's
sure.
more but it's funny. But the last thing I did, which is, let's call the whole thing off. I'm an actress, but I'm also a producer on it because I brought people together. I got some elements of the movie, you know, um,
Sure.
together rather.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
No, I prefer acting.
No, I can appreciate that. Going back to and thinking about your evolution as an actor, are there things, I would imagine there are things you know today.
Yes.
If you could go back in time and tell your early acting self, what are some of the lessons that you've learned that you would tell your own self early in your career?
I think, one, don't take yourself so seriously, but really about, this never too late. It's never over. There's an idea that you get, certainly being a female and an actress, is that your window of opportunity is like, 18 to 24. Like when I came to LA, I had already done theater in New York and some modicum of success. And I had come out here, and they were like, I mean, and when I say they, it was probably one person said, too bad you're not 19.
Yeah,
When I was 19, you know me, I never looked 19. I looked 25. I looked 30. I never played 19. I'm 5'9". I'm a big lady. I was never an ingenue, you
yeah.
know. But the absurdity that I allow that to go, oh well, the time has run out. I've just got to give up. And I've done that in my career before.
Well, I think about, I mean, the Betty White came to mind.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how she rejuvenated her career, and my gosh.
Or June Squibb. She's
Yes.
more of because she still was an actress. Betty White stayed in, game shows and
Right.
whatever, and was always in the public eye. So she never, but June was sort of someone who was, came into real um, fame, what, 10, 15 years ago at the most. Yeah.
So you mentioned June Squibb, and I know you are your own actor and don't have any interest in emulating others, but are there particular people who have been mentors, role models to you, or who have had a significant impact?
Oh, many people. In terms of just role models. I mean, who wouldn't put Meryl Streep as their role model? My first job I ever to get into SAG, a part was written for me, and he named the character Meryl Streep. It was very
Oh,
funny.
interesting.
I was so hoping that was going to be an omen, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was. But Meryl has got the, because she's so talented and she's so diverse, and and that's one of the, when you come from theater, you sort of have this mindset that, oh, well, we can do anything, and then you get in Hollywood and you're sort of you come closer to yourself. You're more pigeonholed. You don't, if you're so it's different. So I wish that I could have kept, even though you do have to sort of know your brand. I mean, there are those things that are important too, because if you don't, if you're a short little, ethnic looking person, you're not going to play a tall Swedish, queen. It's just probably not going to happen if it's on film. If it's in theater, you could. Now, the Brits do it all the time. They
Sure.
take, a lot of license in that area, which is cool. And it's loosened up a lot, I think.
So you've talked about theater, and I know you've done theater. You've
Yeah.
done, including, I believe, some community theater and some local theater and things.
You mean what we call it equity waiver theater here. It's still an equity. It's not community.
Oh, okay.
It's still with professional actors, but the equity is let our smaller theaters work under an equity, very reduced rate, like $15 an hour kind of stuff. So I have done that, and it's
That
hard.
just tells me that I have no idea what community theater is. So thanks for correcting me.
Community theater is like a community center, and then they put on a
It's
play.
non-professionals. Okay.
Yeah, non.
So sorry about that. No, I didn't mean to
No, no. I mean, it could be community.
misattribute that. So in terms of the acting, stage acting versus acting in front of a camera, I know they're very different, but are there things about one that you like more than the other?
Oh, I love theater. Theater is forgiving. Theater is, you don't have a close up. I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of less restrictions. I mean, the film is very restricted. You have this, your blocking is very tight. It's depending on, if it's a long shot or a close up or what, medium shot, whatever. Your movement is usually choreographed to some degree, but in theater, and even though it's blocked, I mean, we have, blocking and stuff, it's just a freedom. And and if you don't like what happened, you can do it again the next night, and it's a do-over. I
Yeah.
mean, you can do that with film, and that is the beauty with film versus theater. Is if you don't like that take, you go, okay, let's do another one. Whereas in theater, that moment's gone. You have
Yeah.
to wait till the next night.
Wait for the next audience.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a little bit. You and I in the past have talked about the importance of living in your character's skin, or your character's living in your skin, your character's living inside of you. And I
Mhm.
know that's important to me as a writer, and I know
Yeah.
it's important to you as an actor. Can you address that? And also, how do you approach the process of
Okay.
embodying a character?
Okay. Well, early on in my training, I had a very good teacher, and she was saying, to a degree, within all of us, we have all the characters because, even though I don't know what it's like to be a murderer, I've certainly been angry enough to go to make a mistake or to, and I have empathy enough, and I have enough of those feelings that I've had enough rage that I could conceivably understand the motivation and all of those things. So within all of us is the rainbow of human existence. If you're a person who's not living under a rock, and I'm someone who's been out in the world. I've lived in 5 major cities in 4 different countries. I've sort of been an observer, and I'm in touch with a lot of different aspects of my being. So I've never lived in 16th century England, but I can do Shakespeare.
Sure.
So because the human experience is pretty consistent. There's not like, I mean, love, hate, all those things. So to character is a funny word because it implies that I'm putting on something on top of me. And I think,
Right.
say, my training is that, you bring the information through the brain, you put input, like if I need to do research about a period or a way a person, if I'm imitating if someone lives and I'm imitating the way they walk or talk or whatever. So you put that in the computer, and then you get the input from the text, and so you're building this character as somewhat, because there's no other lack of better word, this person, and then there is the emotional exploration. But at the end of the day, with all that stuff that's in there, you have to breathe life into it. So that's where an actor trains. One is by repetition, but two, it's by, having a technique. What is the technique? There's many, many different techniques. Method is, recalling past something that's within your lifetime. I don't personally necessarily work that way because I really have a great imagination. And I really think that I can imagine what it is like to, I don't want to imagine what it's like to have lost a child, but I can,
Hmm.
or I can imagine what it's like to be a Queen of England, you know, based on imagination, but a
Sure.
little bit of research. So building a character, and it just, everything informs you. And in the moment, you just have to, hope that it's all there, and just breathe.
Yeah, I love that concept of we all have inside of us what we need, to either portray a person in an acting role or to write about a character
Right.
in a book. Um, we all have it. I mean, for me, it's important for me to channel the characters that I'm writing about and for them to be a part of me and to sort of live as a part of me. But
Yeah.
every character, whether it's a murderer, you mentioned murderer earlier, every character is a human being
Hmm.
with thoughts and feelings
Yeah.
um, and so I would imagine as an actor, I mean, what you're saying is you have to bring that out, and there's something in you, inherent in you, that you can bring out.
And if it's something you can identify with, there's your work, and there's the task at hand, is you've got to figure out how to access something. And it may be you can use those emotional recalls of a previous experience in your life that's similar, because it's at some point, you know I mean, you're going to hopefully have a director that's going to help you. You have a writer who's helping you, giving you unless you're improving. And so, yeah, but I do believe, that the work is to obviously interpret, but also, okay, this person's not going to be slouched over because they went to finishing school and they have a lot invested in being upright physically, those kinds of things. And you can do all of that. You can do all that work. You can write it out. You can think about it. But at the end of the day, it's like putting, building a sculpture, I guess, but it has life, it has a soul, it has a heartbeat. And so
So
then
when
you,
the final cut is, let's say you're playing a role and the final cut is completed and you walk away, do you have an easy time sort of letting go of that
well, it
capture
depends.
thing? It depends, yeah.
It depends if I feel like I've given it my all. And there is no all. So there's always something more. But at
Right.
some point, they make a decision that we only have enough time for this one take, two takes, or, the play's over. I mean, it just is. So there's
Sure.
always more to mine. Let's put it that way. So here's the real bottom line. Every time I work, and I hope this is true, and when it isn't this way, it usually doesn't go as well. It is always a rehearsal. It is never a finished product. It's just a snapshot.
Sure. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, words are different. I guess as a writer, it would be a little different because you have that. But as an actor, you have that film. So could I have
Well, it's
done?
similar. I mean, as a writer, you have a book, but I mean, I still, the first book I wrote, I mean, those characters still touch me, even though,
Sure.
it is a quote finished product.
Yeah,
They still live,
sure, absolutely. I
and
remember experiences I've had working, and I when it has been like soaring or working and it feel great, and or I haven't felt great. I have those in me, and like, oh, I wish I had another do-over with that one,
Yeah.
or that was a really fun. If it's fun, usually even if it's tragedy I'm doing, if it's fun and I feel like then it's a success.
Yeah, that's interesting. So there's always sort of a porous boundary, if you will. I would think. I know there is for me as a writer. There's a porous boundary between me as a writer and my characters. And when I finish a book, my characters have changed me in some way.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
sometimes it enriches me. I mean, do you find the same thing as an actor?
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely. And there'll be times when I'll be working on something that is so devastating that and I find myself and I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is why I feel these other feelings in my day-to-day life. This is a residual. So let's, know where this is coming from. This isn't real,
sure.
this is just a holdover and I've certainly had that, but I try not, if I feel pretty complete with things, I'm like excited by it.
Yeah, that's good. In the course of a day, let's say you're filming and then you go home. Are you able to turn it off, or do you go home and you're still? I mean, can you compartmentalize it, or
I
do you? Or,
can, just a large degree,
yeah,
except, I mean, obviously, if you've had a tough day and you really don't feel like you hit it, or, it's frustrating, but, at the end of the day, it's a collaborative art, so I don't have the final say.
yeah.
No.
Are there? This is so fascinating because there are so many parallels, I think, between the acting and writing,
Hmm.
and and I don't know a lot about actors who. I mean, there certainly are actors who write screenplays,
Oh, yeah.
but I would think, and Ed wrote the
Play.
autobiography and
And
a
he wrote a
play.
play too, yeah.
I would think I have never acted, don't ever even, I can't even,
And I can't
but,
imagine sitting down to write a novel. So there you
but
are.
I would think being an actor and really being able to be
Mhm.
at channeling those things that you need to channel in order to portray a character, I would think that would make you a good writer.
I think it does. I mean, my problem was is that I had like dyslexia and ADD. So writing was never pleasurable. It was always like, okay, I can't spell that word. Let's choose like, a much simpler or whatever. It was just always very difficult reading and writing. So it's ironic. I'm an actress, but that's not uncommon. You'll find that in the artist community where a lot of us have a lot of learning differences, since that's why we go more into the arts and less into academia. But where it is easier, where I think I have a talent, is more improv. So I can improv, and people always say, well, if you can improv, you can write. And I'm like, yes, if I have a tape recorder and someone else types it. I am not going to sit down and write the scene. It just doesn't interest me.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, I don't like to cook either. So there you are. It's just one of those, it's the ADD part, I think. It's just like that focus. But I know writers, my daughter being one of them, if she doesn't write, she doesn't feel complete. I mean, she needs to get that stuff. It's like cathartic.
Sure. It's certainly cathartic for me.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you acting would not be cathartic for me.
Acting's cathartic for me.
I am sure it is. Um, so this is maybe sort of an esoteric question, but have you had roles that you've come out of and you've discovered like emotional truths that that had never really surfaced before? Or like life lessons or things like that, or not?
I just worked on something. This was just in a class. It was from this movie In the Bedroom, which was a very dramatic piece. Sissy Spacek son was murdered, and her husband and she has to see the murderer around town. They're in a small, I don't know if you saw the movie, but this small Maine town fishing village, and she's constantly having to see this guy because he got off. He's very influential family, and he got off the murder, and so she sees it, and I guess and there's like the anger. So the scene is about her just angry and lashing out at her husband, and then through the process of the scene she realizes that it's just anger, and that it's not him, it's just and the anger is at this guy, or the anger is at the situation. And I guess in life, that is certainly the case. It usually isn't the object of my anger. The anger is about triggered from something else, and I'm finding an outlet for that. So it was like that particular piece was very, yeah, okay, I understand how I do this, how
Mhm.
I will project onto others. And then, at the end of the day, and then in the piece, she's asks, says she's sorry, and that, blah, blah, this is, and I've certainly had to do that many times, like, this isn't about you. So
Yeah,
that's a, for instance, I guess, I mean, that's just a human thing, so do I learn any more about myself? Yeah. I mean, I identified, but after the fact, not like,
sure.
oh yeah, I so do that. 'Cause I lead a lot with, this is an injustice. This is I mean, I get angry easy, so it's not, but to make it productive, because it's not productive. In this case, her productive anger got her husband to kill the kid. So she was able to, it's actually a really good movie.
Well, I will tell you, anger is supposedly one of the seven deadly sins, but I think anger can be used to positive effect,
Yeah. Well, in
a
this case,
constructive effect.
yeah, it's a
And
motivator.
yeah,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
definitely need a little bit of that. Are there any roles that you haven't played that you'd like to play? I mean, generically, or I'm not talking about a specific role necessarily, but you mentioned murderer, for example.
Yeah, I've never played a murderer.
Yeah, are there any things you'd love to do that you haven't done? Any roles you
Oh,
want?
I mean, I'd love to be more, I mean, I'd love to go back into theater. I'd love to be able to do some classics, some Shakespeare, that's scary. But to be on Broadway, I would love to be on a Broadway show.
Yeah,
My, and that probably is not going to happen
but
because
don't ever say never.
you never know. But
Never know.
yeah,
Never say never.
yeah. I mean, a lot
Um,
of people want major motion picture. Yeah, I guess. But at this age, I mean, anything is possible, but no, that's not. And I've had my face blown up on screen. I'm like, it's a little old for that. I don't
oh
know.
no. Um, Earlier about, actors and about the process. I mean, if you live to act, sure you'd like to be in a major motion picture or whatever, or like to be on Broadway. But if you really live and breathe to act, it's the acting that's important, right? It's the process.
Yeah.
It's not the
I
end
mean, we live
result.
in Hollywood, so Hollywood is very transactional. It's very, you are this if you get paid for it. That is a, a pervasive kind of feeling here. Um, but truthfully, I mean, could I move to a small town like Atlanta, for instance? I don't know. And be satisfied? Maybe. I've thought many times about it. I moved to Canada at one point, was going to smaller, a bigger fish, smaller pond kind of thing. So living to act, is that the question? Would I be happy? Is that what
Well,
was it?
no, my point was, it was a question in the form of a statement. I mean, if you live to act, it's the acting that's important. It's the process that's most important, not
Yes.
the end result necessarily.
No, no, not the end result. And this is so for me, I act a lot because I'm in class. And sometimes I think no one's ever going to see this but about 20 people. It's not going to make, whatever. And it doesn't necessarily bring me money, but I'm actually doing the role.
Yeah,
So and then that could be a trap because you can get used to just doing that. But in the last couple of years that I've been back in class and doing and pushing the envelope, I think it's translated out in my career too a little bit. From but I love acting, so I'm going
Yeah.
to act whether it is in a class or in a in a theater company that I pay for. I don't know. I love reality TV. I love doing our show. Now that's writing. That was
Yeah.
my producer writing hat. And I had to do all three. I'd say, let's do this situation, this situation. It wasn't necessarily in real time all the time, more than like most of the time it wasn't real time. But we would recreate the situation, and it would be like, this is what it is, and today we're doing this, and and it was could be, and you try to find the funny in it, in this
Yeah.
particular show. That's what I would do. And it wasn't hard, and it was about something I cared about.
Yeah. And you were able to, and with living in Ed, you were able to do it in your own house
In
rather
my own
than
home.
on a set, rather than having to, get dressed up and go to a set somewhere. You could do it right at home.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
But I would want to, the new one that I would do would be out in the world, and I hope that it comes, but I'm
I do too.
yeah.
Yeah, but the parallels with my writing, I mean, they're so similar. Uh, I write because I love to write. Um, I hope my books are successful. I hope people like them, but if they
Yeah,
don't, I'm still going to write because I love to write.
right,
I mean, I have friends who are avid writers, but they're not interested in publishing. They're just interested in writing.
right.
Now, I do want to publish my work because I
Yeah,
do want people to read it, but it's the process that's important. It's
yes,
not,
absolutely.
if the end result happens, that's great, but if it doesn't happen, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I know writers who won't write unless they're getting paid.
Yeah, I know.
So, that's not that, I mean, and they're good. They're
Yeah,
just not going to do it. But most of the writers I know write every day.
yeah, yeah, I
You
do.
know,
Um,
it's a
I don't
discipline.
have quite the regimen that I used to have, but I do write at some point every day. So we're sort of wrapping up here. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about? Anything that you would like to share with the people who will view this, or anything else?
Yeah, I guess it really, everyone is an artist if they choose to be, because there's art in everything. If you can find art in anything, whether you have the talent to act and we act, most of us act all the time. So, but I do think that it's enriched my life. And I know that you've come to writing later because you had another career.
Mhm.
And that at any point it's never too late. That's definitely what I want to say. There's always an outlet, whether it be painting or writing and I do think it enriches one's life. It's going to open your circle of friends for sure. Those are just facts.
Yeah.
But finding art in every day,
Yeah,
that's
that's wonderful. And you think about what you just said, and it just occurred to me the number of musicians who are
hmm
painters,
hmm
who are artists, the
hmm
the the, the crossover,
sure.
all different forms of artistic endeavor.
Yep.
And often somebody who is really committed to an artistic endeavor, they also do things in other areas of
Yeah,
artistic
well,
endeavor.
because like if you're a performing artist, not necessarily a musician, but yes, a musician and a singer, an actor, you do have a wish or a desire to be in front of people, but but to fulfill that other part of you that is that it doesn't need that, painting is a great outlet. I mean, a lot of us paint,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And a
Um,
lot of us write. A
a lot,
lot of us.
yes.
And my friend, the one that the movie that's coming out. hopefully. But I know it's it's going to be on the Academy screening board, and it will be here for until it's sold onto a platform. We made for very little money, but the she is an actress, a writer, and a director. So
Yeah,
she started as a little actress, started writing because she wasn't getting the roles in the writing that she just wasn't getting the opportunities.
sure.
So, and she's a very good writer. So she could be in a writer's room somewhere, but her passion is usually acting. And then directing because it's her work and she wanted to have some control.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
One other question about the reality show that you're contemplating doing, and I'm thinking back to Living with Ed. Not only were you able to shoot that at home, but you also were able to shoot it with your family because
yes.
Ed was in it
Yep.
and your daughter Hayden was in it.
Yes, it was a family affair. That's what made it relatable.
Yes.
Because we live a very sort of off grid kind of way. I mean, not everyone lives this way. Not everyone can afford to live this way. But not everyone chooses to live this way. And when we at that old house, we had the way Ed lived. I wasn't necessarily living that way, but it made sense to me to live more, solar and more independently, and think of the planet as in my life, what is my impact on the planet? And
Sure.
then we were able to and could afford it because of that reality show. We built our LEED Platinum home
Hmm.
because we put our money where our mouth was and built this house. One, it was the challenge of doing it and doing it. We did it and making it beautiful and so that's how yeah, I love but being a family is relatable. Everyone has one.
Yeah.
So to bring people into the tent, if you want to, it's sort of like if you want to, send a message. They used to say go to Western Union, but if you want to really move people, they have to relate to it. So you relate, and we had this family. We lived this way, and out of that, we would get emails or whatever comments from, I forget how it was back then. We did have emails back then. It wasn't that long ago. But like, I don't necessarily want to do what you've done, but I'm going to do part of it. And I love that rainwater catchment you had in your backyard or whatever. So it was sort of like what Ed's, always says, live simply so others can simply live, or pick the low hanging fruit and all of those sayings. But the new show would be more, the environment is just a given for us at this point. We're always going to be interested in the environment. The new show is more about living better for the 20th century and looking for solutions in disease,
Uh,
i.e., my husband, you know,
yeah.
he
Yeah.
has Parkinson's, and Parkinson's, ironically, exposure to chemicals,
Yeah.
head trauma, all those things. We're a baby boomer generation. We're getting older. We're all living longer
And we
and
are.
not necessarily living better.
And I do not want to know the number of grams of milligrams or whatever of microplastics in my brain,
Yeah.
you know?
You don't have to, but you want to, maybe if there's a way of getting them out, when you want to know that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. No,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't want to know about it because I want to avoid it. I just,
It's
it's
like if
terrible.
there's something to do, if there's a positive to be learned, that's what I want to
Yeah,
explore.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, there's no point in just, beating a dead horse, so to speak. There's nothing we can do. But that's not the case. It's certainly not the case with the environment. It's certainly not the case with the individual, your health and all of that. So I think it can be done entertainingly and it's informational. I love infotainment. Love it.
yeah, yeah, that's good. So Ed is the first person I knew, I believe, who had an electric car. It was certainly the first electric car that I rode in
Yeah, yeah.
way back,
Yeah.
way
He's
back,
committed. Very,
way before Tesla and
yeah,
before
yeah.
Sid and
Yeah.
yeah,
You have to be a little crazy, but that's what, they get things done. I mean, that's how things shift. OCD, that, dog with a bone kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Rochelle, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time. And tell Ed hi, tell Hayden hi, and I love you guys, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care. Take care,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Okay, bye.